The day Ryan Vance walked into the compliance meeting room and called my team background noise with a dental plan, I knew the company was on a slow march to self-destruction. He had that arrogant, freshly minted MBA energy, popped collar, hair gelled like he was preparing for a high-end cologne commercial, and eyes scanning the company org chart like someone browsing a clearance rack. The CFO's son, newly appointed Director of Strategic Optimization, whatever that meant, he didn't shake hands. He gave those Americanized fist bumps, tossed around terms like dynamic synergy and trimming the fat, while sipping a $12 green juice as if he'd invented Excel. No one asked him to speak at that meeting. No one stopped him either. He presented a PowerPoint titled Efficiency Goals Phase 1. Phase 1, I quickly discovered, was me. If you enjoy revenge stories like this one, subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. It really helps our work. I had been the official head of SOC2 certification for 7 years. 7 years of building risk controls with creativity and dedication, watching security breaches pass us by like hurricanes, documenting every nightmare scenario a cloud vendor could throw at us. I had 2 external audits on my record that ended with 0 findings. I kept a folder labeled, "If they fire me, read this first." No one had ever opened that folder. Ryan didn't even know what SOC2 meant. I saw him Googling it once during the meeting. That morning, as he stood there smirking with his father's inherited Rolex on his wrist, calling compliance an internal support function, and suggesting we automate oversight using a bot, he said my department, my team, was redundant, bloated. $140,000 a year in savings, he boasted. That pays for a nice bonus, someone laughed. I didn't. I just capped my pen and said, "Are we done here?" Ryan left the meeting with his spreadsheet and a smug nod. I went back to my office and opened a clean folder. It wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was protocol. I started backing up files. I documented every access token, every official compliance designation, every clause where my name appeared as the legal responsible party. Most of the company didn't realize that the entire SOC2 audit cycle still hinged on my formal designation. Every renewal, every quarterly submission, every checkmark had Sarah Miller as the designated contact next to it. No one had replaced me. No one could without notifying the board and filing a formal reassignment. But Ryan didn't know that. Hell, he hadn't even checked. At first, I thought maybe someone would stop the train, that maybe HR would hesitate, that the CEO, Edward, who once called me the company's firewall, might raise his hand. But nothing. In fact, HR sent a reclassification form 2 days later. My new title, Compliance Coordinator. My access was restricted. My invitation to leadership meetings vanished overnight. I nodded, no complaints. I even congratulated Ryan in the hallway when he bragged about hitting his first efficiency target. He gave me the finger guns and called me champ. So I printed the SOC2 designation letter, the original signed by the board in 2021, and emailed it to myself, time-stamped. Then I printed 2 copies. One went into my personal file, the other into a folder labeled Continuity Risk Do Not Destroy, and I left it quietly in the legal department's shared file room. I didn't tell anyone. You see, people think revenge is loud, that it needs shouting and slamming doors and long exit speeches about how no one values you. But no one values a fuse either until it's lit. It was a Tuesday. Of course it was a Tuesday. The kind of day that smells like burnt coffee and crushed dreams. Ryan, with his designer hoodie and his father's favorite cologne, advanced to slide 6 of his presentation as if he were revealing the cure for cancer. Title: Operational Rationalization Phase 1 Targets. I was sitting right in the middle of the table, flanked by 2 members of my now doomed compliance team, already feeling the guillotine behind his smug rhetoric. My left eye twitched the moment I saw my own department's name under the Target Redundancies column. He didn't even have the decency to write my name correctly, just Oversight Lead SM. "Good morning, everyone," he began, as if we were discussing the lunch menu. "I've identified our first big win. Compliance, as we know, is increasingly digital. Tools like LexiBot and Certify now mean we don't need as many bodies on the floor. We can terminate 2 full-time positions, consolidate functions, and reclassify the oversight position for a projected annual savings of $140,000. He looked up and smiled. That's almost enough to pay for a new luxury car, folks. I stared at him, as if he had just committed an unforgivable faux pas. No one laughed, but a few weak chuckles came from the marketing side of the table. He continued without missing a beat. We'll be transferring oversight responsibilities to an automated dashboard. You'll still have visibility, Sarah. He gestured toward me like I was the office plant. You're not being fired, just repositioned. Repositioned, like I was a piece of furniture. Compliance is about structures, he continued, not faces. It was then I realized two things. First, Ryan didn't understand what I did, not even a little. And second, no one in the room was going to stop him. Edward, the CEO, was blinking at the screen as if it were in another language. HR was avoiding eye contact. The legal intern was typing something and nodding. My direct reports were frozen, waiting for me to say something, anything. I didn't. Instead, I uncapped my pen, wrote the word terminate in the margin of my notepad, dotted the I in responsibility for fun. Then I smiled. Small, professional, lethal. Understood, I said. That was it. No protest, no speech, just the quiet click of my laptop closing as I stood up from the table and walked out of the room. Ryan looked slightly confused, as if he expected a hug or a trophy. I gave him neither. I went straight to my office and started downloading every audit log from the past 4 years. SOC2 protocols, access records, incident response plans, change management trails, everything. I encrypted one copy on my personal drive and another on an external thumb drive. Then I opened the business continuity plan, that dull 300-page document no one had read since it was approved 3 years ago. I went to section 9.7 and reread the clause I myself had written during a routine review. Any revocation of the designated compliance officer must be formally replaced by a board resolution within 14 calendar days. Failure to do so nullifies the audit status retroactive to the date of the vacancy. Simple, elegant, deadly. No one had read it. No one would know until it was too late. I saved an additional copy of the plan to my personal archive and another to the cloud. Then I sent an email to myself with the original designation attached. Subject: critical documentation backup. It wasn't anger. It wasn't impulsivity. It was building an emergency exit before the building caught fire. 2 weeks after the meeting, I received the official email. Subject: organizational structure update. I opened it knowing exactly what I would see. Your position has been reclassified as part of our strategic optimization initiative. Your new title is Compliance Coordinator, reporting to the Director of Operations. We appreciate your flexibility during this transition. Flexibility. As if I had a choice. As if anyone had asked me. I printed the email, stapled it to a copy of my original designation, and filed it all in a folder labeled Transition 2025. I said nothing. I didn't complain. I just kept showing up, doing my job with the same precision as always, while Ryan paraded through the halls like a conquering peacock. He had a new assistant now, a girl named Julia, who had barely graduated and spent all day taking notes while he pontificated about efficiency metrics. I saw when he tried to access the audit system for the first time. He couldn't get in. Of course he couldn't. Access was tied to my official designation, which still hadn't been transferred. He messaged me on Slack. "Hey champ, I'm having trouble accessing the compliance files. Can you help me out?" I replied in 3 minutes. "Certainly, Ryan. Access requires formal board approval. Have you filled out the designation transfer form?" To silence. Then, "What form?" I sent him the link to the responsibility transfer protocol. It was a 12-page document that required signatures from the board, legal approval and formal notification to the external auditors. No one had done any of that. Ryan read the first page and replied, "Can't this be simplified?" I replied, "Not without violating audit guidelines." He didn't respond after that. The days dragged on in a strange routine. I'd go to work, perform my new reduced duties, eat lunch alone in the downtown food court while reading articles on independent consulting. Ryan, meanwhile, scheduled meetings with automation software vendors, presented projections to the board, received pats on the back from his father. No one seemed to notice that the system was working, because I was still there, still keeping everything on the rails, still being the only person who truly understood how that machine worked. What they saw was efficiency, cost savings, modernization. What I saw was a time bomb with a silent timer. On the 20th day after my reclassification, I received an email from our external auditor, a firm called Martin & Associates. Subject: contact confirmation for annual SOC2 renewal. Dear Sarah Miller, as per the terms of our audit agreement, we need to confirm that you are still the designated compliance officer. Please confirm or provide updated contact information by March 15th. I read the email 3 times. Then I checked the calendar. March 15th, 11 days away. I forwarded the email to Ryan and copied the legal department. I added a single line, "For your information and necessary action." Ryan replied 4 hours later, "Can we discuss this on Monday?" It was Thursday. I replied, "Of course." Then I saved the email in a specific folder labeled External Auditor Correspondence. I was building a file. A paper trail. A history of negligence that would be indisputable when the time was right. The Monday meeting never happened. Ryan cancelled, then rescheduled, then cancelled again. The March 15th deadline passed. Martin & Associates sent a reminder. Then another. On the 3rd email, the tone changed. Subject: urgent, compliance status at risk. Dear Edward Price, we have not received confirmation of the designated compliance officer as required by our contract. Without this confirmation, we cannot proceed with the certification renewal. The current audit status will be considered invalid as of March 22nd. This email was sent to the CEO, the CFO, legal, and me. Ryan called me 5 minutes later. "Sarah, what's going on? Why are they saying the audit is at risk?" I took a sip of my coffee before answering. "Because no one filled out the formal designation transfer. I sent you the protocol 3 weeks ago." "But you're still here," he protested. "You can still sign, right?" "No, Ryan, I can't. My designation was revoked when my position was reclassified. The new designation needs to come from the board." "You knew that." Silence on the line. Then, "Nobody told me. It's in the protocol I sent, and in the continuity plan. Section 9.7. He hung up. 10 minutes later, there was an emergency meeting scheduled for that afternoon. All directors, legal, HR. I wasn't invited. I didn't need to be. I knew exactly what was happening in that room. Panic, blame, a frantic search for a quick fix. I stayed at my cubicle, answering routine emails, organizing files, keeping calm while chaos simmered 3 floors above. My phone buzzed. A message from a colleague in legal. They're trying to approve an emergency designation. Ryan is desperate. Edward is furious. I replied with a wide-eyed emoji. Nothing more. I put the phone aside and opened my personal laptop. I had received 3 consulting offers that week. One was from a growing tech company that needed someone to build a compliance program from scratch. Starting salary of $20,000 a month plus bonuses, full autonomy. I starred the email. At 5 p.m. I received an email from HR. Subject: urgent meeting request. Sarah, we need your assistance with a transition issue. Please come to conference room 3 tomorrow at 9 a.m. I didn't reply immediately. I let the email marinate for 2 hours while I finished my work, tidied my desk, shut down my computer. At 7, when the office was almost empty, I replied, "I'll be there." Short, professional, but inside I was smiling. They needed me now. They needed me to fix the mess they had created. They needed me to be flexible, cooperative, supportive, and I would be, up to a point. Because what they didn't know, what no one had yet realized, was that Clause 9.7 had a timer. 14 days for formal transfer. We were already past 21 days. The window had closed. The audit status was officially compromised. And there was no quick fix, no shortcut, no way to undo what was already done. I walked down the stairs of the office building, out into the city night where traffic boiled and the city pulsed with its chaotic energy. I bought a sandwich from a street cart, ate it sitting on a park bench while watching the building lights come on one by one. Somewhere up there in some meeting room, they were still trying to find a way out. But there was no way out. Only consequences. Conference room 3 smelled like strong coffee and poorly disguised desperation. I arrived at exactly 9, carrying only my tablet and a bottle of water. Ryan was already there, sitting at one end of the table with a loosened tie and dark circles under his eyes, that suggested a sleepless night. The General Counsel, Mark Jennings, was flipping through a stack of papers with a tense expression. The HR Director, Patricia Wells, was typing furiously on her laptop. Edward wasn't present. That told me everything I needed to know. The CEO was letting his subordinates handle the mess. "Sarah, thank you for coming," Patricia began with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We need your help to resolve an administrative issue." I sat down, folded my hands on the table, and waited. Silence is often more powerful than words. Mark cleared his throat. "As you know, there was a gap in the compliance designation transfer process. The external auditors are demanding formal confirmation that seems to have been delayed during the restructuring." "Not delayed," I corrected calmly. "Never initiated." Ryan shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "We need you to sign a retroactive statement confirming continuity of responsibility," Patricia explained, pushing a document across the table. "This will buy us time to process the formal paperwork." I took the document, read it silently. It was a statement affirming that I had maintained compliance authority throughout the transition, that no gap had occurred, that my reclassification was merely titular. It was also completely false. I looked up. "This isn't true. My designation was revoked when my position was reclassified. You all received the email from HR. I have a time-stamped copy," Ryan cut in. "But you were still doing the work, weren't you?" "I was performing my reduced duties, yes. But legal authority is different from executing tasks. The SOC2 designation is a formal position that requires board approval. You did not formally replace me. So the gap is technical," Mark argued. "We can fix it retroactively." "Not under the terms of our audit agreement," I replied. "I read Section 9.7 of the continuity plan. Any revocation requires formal replacement within 14 days. It's been 21 days. The silence that followed was as thick as concrete. Patricia and Mark exchanged glances. Ryan turned pale. "Sarah," Mark finally said, "we need your cooperation here. The company is facing serious consequences if we don't resolve this." "I understand perfectly," I replied, "and I'm willing to help within legal and ethical boundaries, but I will not sign a false document. That would put me at legal risk." Patricia sighed. "What do you suggest then?" "I suggest you follow the proper protocol. Convene an emergency board meeting. Approve a new designation, formally notify the auditors. That takes weeks." Ryan exploded. "The renewal is in 6 days. "You should have thought of that before you reclassified me without following the process," I replied calmly. "I sent the protocol. No one followed it." Mark snapped his folder shut. "Sarah, I'll be blunt. If you don't cooperate, this could be seen as obstruction. My entire career has been built on compliance and ethics. I'm not going to compromise that now. If this is obstruction, then you need to reevaluate your priorities." I stood up. "Anything else?" Patricia tried a different approach. "What if we restore your original position? Same role, same salary? Are you offering me my own job back?" "We're trying to fix an administrative error." "It wasn't an error. It was a deliberate, strategic optimization decision." Ryan used those exact words. "I have a recording of the meeting." Ryan's face turned red. "Sarah, it doesn't have to be this way. It has to be exactly this way. You made a decision without understanding the consequences. Now those consequences are materializing. I will not lie to save you." I left the room before anyone could respond. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. In the elevator, I allowed myself a small smile. They still didn't get it. They still thought they could negotiate, manipulate, fix it with retroactive statements and last-minute offers. But the damage was done. The window had closed, and I had every email, every document, every communication that proved I had warned them. Back at my cubicle, I found 3 new emails. One from Mark asking for reconsideration, one from Patricia scheduling another meeting, and one from a sender that made my heart race. Subject: Strategic Consulting Opportunity. Sender: Helen Croft, Director of Acquisitions at TechVision. Dear Sarah, your name was recommended by mutual contacts in the compliance sector. TechVision is in the due diligence process for acquiring a mid-sized company and needs expert consulting on SOC2 auditing and operational continuity. The project would be immediate, lasting 3 months with a possibility of extension. Interested in discussing? I reread the email twice. TechVision, one of the largest tech companies in the country. Due diligence, acquisition, and then the pieces clicked into place. They were considering buying the company I worked for. That's why the panic was escalating. It wasn't just about the audit renewal. It was about a sale, a huge sale, and the compromised compliance status could destroy everything. I replied to Helen's email. Dear Helen, thank you so much for the contact. I am very interested in discussing this opportunity. My availability is flexible. When would be a convenient time to schedule a call? Sincerely, Sarah Miller. I sent it and leaned back in my chair. Upstairs, in some executive suite, they were discovering that the house of cards they'd built was collapsing. And down here, I was opening the door to something new. Something I controlled. Something I had built with my own competence, not with favoritism or important last names. My phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Sarah Miller. Yes, this is Edward Price. We need to talk. In person today. I checked my watch. It was almost lunchtime. I'm available at 2, I replied. Great, my office. Sarah, he hesitated. We need to fix this. I know you do, I replied and hung up. I grabbed my bag and went out for lunch. I chose a Japanese restaurant 3 blocks away, ordered sashimi and green tea, ate slowly while mentally reviewing every document I had filed, every email I had saved. I was ready. More than ready. I had been ahead of them for weeks. And when I walked back into the office at 2 p.m., heading up to the 22nd floor where the CEO's office was, I wasn't nervous. I was calm, focused, because I knew exactly what I was going to say. And more importantly, I knew exactly what I was not going to do. Edward Price's office had a view of Park Avenue, floor-to-ceiling glass, minimalist designer furniture, a bookshelf full of awards and photos with politicians and celebrities. He was standing when I entered, tie-perfect, graying hair combed back, but there was something different in his eyes. Worry, maybe even fear. Sarah, thank you for coming, he said, gesturing to a leather armchair. Please sit. I sat, crossed my legs, waited. He walked around his desk and sat too, folding his hands. I'll get straight to the point. We are in negotiations to sell the company. TechVision is interested in acquiring us. It's a $340 million opportunity. It would change the lives of all of us. Shareholders, employees, everyone. I kept my expression neutral. Congratulations. That sounds like a great achievement, Edward sighed. It would be, if we can close the deal. But the due diligence includes a full compliance audit. The SOC2 status is a non-negotiable requirement. If we don't resolve this issue, the deal collapses. I understand, I replied calmly. Sarah, I know there were mistakes. Ryan's restructuring was hasty. He didn't understand the implications. I should have paid more attention. That's true, I agreed. He blinked, surprised by my frankness. I need to know. What is required to fix this? I've already explained to legal. Formal board designation, notification to the auditors. A full process that takes weeks. There is no shortcut. What if we expedite the board process? Emergency meeting tomorrow, immediate approval, express notification. It would still take at least 10 days. You have 6. Edward rubbed his face. Is there any way to buy us time? Ask the auditors for an extension? Perhaps. If you have a valid reason and a clear plan. Can you help us with that? Technically, no. I no longer have official authority. But, Edward leaned forward, you have the knowledge. You built this system. You know the auditors. They trust you. They trusted me, I corrected. Before I was reclassified without formal explanation, I shifted in my chair. Let me ask you something. Did Ryan know about the sale when he proposed the restructuring? Edward hesitated. No, that was confidential. Executive counsel only. So he made a decision that impacted a $340 million transaction without knowing the full context. It was reckless. Edward's face hardened. He's young. He was trying to prove his worth. At my expense, I observed. And now at the company's expense. Edward was silent for a long moment. Then he asked, What do you want, Sarah? Your position back? A raise? A stake in the sale? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. That compliance isn't background noise, that people are not lines on an optimization spreadsheet. My voice remained calm, but firm. I spent 7 years building this program, 7 years ensuring this company could operate with integrity. And I was dismissed in a PowerPoint presentation. You're right, Edward admitted quietly. I failed you. The board failed. And now we're all paying for it. I stood up. I cannot sign anything false. I will not compromise my integrity. If you want my help, it needs to be within ethical and legal parameters. I understand. What if we restore your position completely? Not as coordinator, but as director of compliance? New title, new authority, a 30% raise. I shook my head. It's not about money. It's about trust. How can I trust that this won't happen again? Ryan is still here. The system that allowed this is still intact. Edward stood up too. I'll talk to the board today. Ryan will be transferred to another area. You will have complete autonomy, reporting directly to me. It's the least I can offer. I'll consider it, I replied, but I need time to think. We don't have much time, Sarah. Due diligence starts on Monday. Today is Thursday. Then you have a weekend to make difficult decisions, don't you? I left the office without waiting for a reply. In the elevator, I checked my phone. Helen had replied. Sarah, great. Can we meet tomorrow for coffee? I have some questions about audit processes and would love your perspective. There's also something I'd like to discuss about your current situation. A contact informed me you might be considering changes. I smiled at the screen. Of course she knew. Venture capital firms always had internal sources. I replied, tomorrow at 10 works perfectly. Send me the address. Back at my cubicle, Ryan was waiting for me, leaning against the partition, arms crossed, trying to look casual but failing miserably. Can we talk? I'm busy, I replied, walking past him to grab my bag. Please, Sarah, 5 minutes. I checked my watch. 3 minutes. He took a deep breath. I screwed up. I know that. I didn't understand what you did. I didn't do the proper research. I thought I was doing something smart, showing initiative. You were trying to impress your father, I corrected. And you used my department as a stepping stone. That too, he admitted. Look, I know you probably hate me right now, and you have every right. But the entire company is at risk because of my mistake. If there's anything I can do to fix it, you can start by taking public responsibility, I suggested. You can explain to the board that the failure was yours, not mine. You can stop trying to make me the villain in this story. He swallowed hard. I'll do it. I promise. I grabbed my bag and walked past him. Ryan, one last thing. Before you optimize something, learn what that something actually does. Maybe it'll stop you from destroying companies in the future. I left the office at 5 p.m. and went straight home, a small apartment I loved for its balcony and natural light. I made tea, sat on the sofa, and opened my laptop. I reread every email in the chain with the auditors, every document I had saved. It was all there. The complete trail of negligence, the ignored warnings, the missed deadlines. It wasn't anger I felt. It was clarity. They had made choices. Now they were living with the consequences. I slept well that night, better than I had in weeks. And when I woke up on Friday, I dressed with care. A navy blue suit, medium heels, hair pulled back in a professional bun. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw someone who knew her exact worth. Someone who didn't need to beg for respect. Someone who had options. The coffee with Helen was set for 10 at a chic cafe uptown. I arrived 5 minutes early. She arrived precisely on time. An elegant woman in her 40s with piercing eyes and a firm handshake. Sarah, a pleasure to finally meet you. I've heard excellent things about your work. Thank you, and thank you for the invitation. We ordered coffee and croissants. She got straight to the point. I'll be frank. We are doing due diligence on the company where you work. Or worked. I'm not sure what the current status is. I nodded. I still work there. For now. I see. And I also understand there are complications with the compliance audit. Helen looked at me directly. Complications that you could clarify if you chose to. I sipped my coffee. I could, but I'd like to know first. If the sale doesn't happen because of compliance issues, what would TechVision's next step be? She smiled. We'd buy the assets in a fire sale for a fraction of the price, and I'd hire someone exceptional to rebuild the compliance program from scratch. With full autonomy and appropriate compensation, I let the silence fill the space between us. Then I said, tell me more about this hypothetical position. The conversation with Helen lasted 2 hours. She described a position where I would have my own budget, a team I chose, veto power over decisions that impacted compliance, a salary that would double what I currently earned, plus stock options. But the most important thing was the respect implicit in the offer. She saw compliance not as a cost, but as a value. Not as an obstacle, but as a foundation. When we said goodbye on the sunny uptown sidewalk, she shook my hand and said, "Think it over, Sarah, but know that regardless of what happens with this acquisition, we want you on our team. People with your integrity are rare." I returned to the office at 2 p.m. and found chaos. Urgent emails, cancelled and rescheduled meetings, Ryan practically running through the hallways. He saw me and came right over. "Sarah, thank goodness. The board has approved an emergency meeting for tomorrow. They're going to vote on your reinstatement as Director of Compliance. Edward wants you at the meeting to explain the remediation process to the auditors." "Tomorrow is Saturday," I observed. "Extraordinary situation. All members have agreed to attend. Please, can you be there at 9 a.m.? I mentally checked my schedule. I had nothing planned except the gym and cleaning my apartment. "I'll be there," I replied. Ryan seemed to sag with relief. "Thank you, seriously, we're trying to fix this. A little late, but you're trying." He lowered his voice. "Between us, my father is furious with me. Said I put 300 million at risk because of arrogance." "He's not wrong," I replied. Ryan nodded, looking years older than he had a few weeks ago. "Lesson learned. The hard way?" "I hope so." I spent the rest of the afternoon organizing documents, preparing a clear presentation on the steps needed to restore the audit status. Not because I was committed to staying, but because doing good work was part of who I was, even on my way out. Saturday morning, I arrived at the empty office before 8. The silence was strange without the usual buzz of phones and conversations. I went up to the boardroom, an imposing room with a mahogany table and leather chairs. Edward was already there, as was the CFO, Paul Vance, Ryan's father. The rest of the board trickled in. 6 people in total, including 2 external investors. At 9 a.m. sharp, Edward opened the meeting. "Thank you all for attending under such unusual circumstances. We are here to address a critical issue that threatens the sale to TechVision. Sarah Miller, our compliance officer until recently, is here to guide us on a course correction." I presented my analysis with clarity. The current situation, the missed deadlines, the consequences of the unreplaced revocation. I explained that any solution would take at least 10 business days, that it would require full transparency with the auditors, that there was a risk of penalties. One of the investors, a bald man in his 60s named Robert, interrupted, "Are you saying there's no quick fix?" "I'm saying there's no dishonest fix. We can correct it by following the proper protocol. But someone will have to explain to the auditors and to TechVision why this gap occurred." Paul Vance spoke for the first time. "And who caused this gap, Sarah?" I looked directly at him. "Your son proposed the restructuring without understanding the legal implications. HR executed it without checking continuity requirements. Legal failed to flag the risks, and executive leadership approved it without internal due diligence. The responsibility is shared." The silence was deafening. Then Edward asked, "What do you recommend?" "I recommend honesty. Call the auditors, explain the administrative error, present an immediate correction plan including my formal redesignation, ask for an extension, simultaneously inform TechVision of the situation before they find out on their own." "Won't that kill the deal?" Robert questioned. "It might delay it, but hiding it will destroy it when they find out, and they will find out. Due diligence is exactly for that." Another board member, Marianne, asked, "Are you willing to return to the position?" "Under what conditions?" I listed them clearly. Full authority, a team chosen by me, direct reporting to the CEO, participation in strategic decisions that impact operational risk. And Ryan Vance can have no role that interferes with compliance. Paul turned red. "Are you asking me to sideline my son?" "I'm asking you to protect the company from impulsive decisions. Ryan can contribute in other areas, just not in risk oversight." The tension in the room was palpable. Edward intervened. "Those are reasonable terms. I move to vote. All in favor of reinstating Sarah Miller as Director of Compliance under the terms presented." 6 hands went up. Paul's was the last, reluctant. Approved unanimously. Edward nodded. Sarah, you are officially reinstated. Paperwork will be processed on Monday. Can you begin contacting the auditors? I can, but I want everything documented formally before any external communication. Minutes from this meeting, a written resolution, a signed designation letter. There will be no ambiguity this time. It will be done, Edward assured me. Anything else? Yes. I want Ryan to present a formal explanation to the board about how this happened, not as punishment but as an institutional lesson, so that no one repeats this mistake. Paul opened his mouth to protest, but Edward cut him off. Agreed. Ryan will come to the next meeting and present a full analysis of the failure. The meeting ended at 11. As I left, my phone buzzed. A message from Helen. How's the weekend going? I replied, interesting. Lots of changes. She replied in seconds. I imagine. The offer still stands if you change your mind. I put the phone away and went home. On Sunday, I did nothing related to work. I went to the farmer's market, cooked, read a book on my balcony. I needed mental clarity for the week ahead. Monday arrived with a heavy rain typical of the city. I arrived at the office and found my old room, the director's office, had already been cleaned and prepared. My nameplate on the door. My computer with all access restored. Flowers in a vase with a card from Edward. Welcome back. I sat in the chair, turned on the computer and got to work. First, I called Martin & Associates. I spoke with the head partner, explained the situation with brutal honesty. There was an administrative error during an internal restructuring. It has been formally corrected with unanimous board approval. I am redesignated as the compliance officer with full authority. I need a 2-week extension to reprocess all documentation. He listened in silence, then said, Sarah, we've worked together for years. I trust you, but I'm going to need full documentation, an audit of any decisions made during the gap period, and an in-person meeting with the board to confirm the governance structure. Absolutely. Can I schedule that for Thursday? Perfect. I'll send the formal extension today. But Sarah, he hesitated, if there are any other surprises, we need to know now. There will be no surprises, I promised. I hung up and took a deep breath. First hurdle cleared. Next step, tech vision. I called Edward. We need to inform Helen about the situation before tomorrow's due diligence. I've already scheduled lunch with her today, he replied. Can you come? I'll be there. The lunch was at a high-end restaurant in Midtown. Helen arrived, impeccable as always, greeted Edward with a professional handshake and me with a knowing smile. Edward, Sarah, thank you for accepting the invitation. Edward got straight to the point, explained the situation, the correction, the new protocols. Helen listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes. When he finished, she turned to me. Sarah, in your professional assessment, is the system secure now? It's more secure than it has ever been, I replied. The failures were identified and corrected. New controls are being implemented. But it would be dishonest to say there wasn't a risk during the 3-week gap. Helen nodded. I appreciate the honesty. I will need full access to the records during due diligence. You'll have it, Edward guaranteed. Full transparency. She put away her tablet. Very well. The due diligence will proceed as planned, but know that any other discrepancy will result in a renegotiation of terms, possibly significant. Understood, Edward agreed. She stood up to leave, then turned to me. Sarah, a word. Edward left us. Helen smiled. You played this brilliantly. I don't know what you're talking about, I replied, but a corner of my mouth quirked up. Of course not. She held out a business card. The offer remains open. Any day you decide you deserve more than flowers and apologies. I took the card. Thank you. I'll keep it in mind. I went back to the office and dove into work. But deep down I knew I had changed. That I had proven my worth in a way that could never be ignored again. And I knew that, regardless of what happened with the sale, I had options. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving in a system. I was setting the terms. The TechVision due diligence began on a rainy Tuesday. 3 auditors arrived at 8 a.m., led by a serious man named Frank Costa, a specialist in regulatory compliance. They set up in a conference room on the 15th floor and began requesting documents. I coordinated everything, providing organized access to 7 years of records. Frank was meticulous, almost obsessive. He reviewed every line, every signature, every timestamp. On the second day, he called me for a private meeting. "Sarah, I found something interesting," he said, opening a laptop. "Your original designation is from 2021. "Correct," I confirmed. "But there's an amendment to the 2023 Continuity Plan. Section 9.7. Did you write this?" "I did. During a routine review of the plan. It's standard practice to include continuity clauses for critical positions." He stared at me. "It's a very specific clause. 14 days for formal replacement or retroactive invalidation of audit status. That's unusual. It's rigorous," I agreed, "but not uncommon in companies that take compliance seriously." Frank closed his laptop. "It almost sounds like you knew you'd need it someday." "It sounds like I understand that critical positions need structural protection." He smiled slightly. "Smart, very smart. Can I ask why no one else noticed this clause until now?" "Most people don't read full continuity plans. They are dense technical documents." The clause was there, available, legal. If leadership had followed basic protocol when reclassifying me, they would have seen it. And if they had seen it, they probably would have removed the clause before proceeding. Exactly. So the protection worked precisely as it should have. It protected the integrity of the compliance program from precipitous decisions. Frank nodded thoughtfully. "I'll include this in my report as an example of good preventive governance." He paused. "Off the record, did you know you were going to be targeted for cuts? I suspected restructurings were possible. They always are in companies that bring in efficiency consultants. So you built a safety net. I built structural protections for me and for the company. If I had been replaced properly, none of this would have mattered." He leaned back in his chair. "Sarah, I've worked in due diligence for 15 years. I've seen a lot of corporate incompetence, but I rarely see someone who understands structural power like this. You turned compliance into leverage. It's what compliance should be, not background noise. The critical foundation." Frank went back to work, but that conversation stayed with me. For the first time, someone had articulated exactly what I had done. Not revenge, not sabotage, just engineering the inevitable consequences of negligence. On Thursday, we had the meeting with the auditors from Martin and Associates. The head partner, Augustus Martin, brought 2 associates. We reviewed all the documentation, the error, the correction, the new protocols. Augustus had known me for years, had worked with me on difficult audits. "Sarah, I need to ask directly," he said. "During the gap period, were there any decisions made that should have had your oversight but didn't?" 3 minor IT decisions were approved. I reviewed them all retroactively. None created material risk. I've documented everything. Can I see that documentation? Of course. I passed him a tablet with the complete folder. He reviewed it in silence for 10 minutes. Then he closed it and said, "It's all here. Complete, time-stamped, auditable. You did your job even without formal authority." "I did what was ethical and necessary." Augustus looked at Edward. "I will recommend that we renew the certification with a note documenting the transition period. This will be transparent to any buyer, but it doesn't invalidate the current status." Edward sighed in relief. "Thank you, Augustus." He held up a hand. "But I want structural changes. I want Sarah to have a seat in executive meetings. I want her approval required for any restructuring that affects risk functions. And I want a quarterly audit instead of annual for the next 2 years." "Those are fair conditions," Edward agreed, looking at me. "Sarah, accepted. With one addition. I want a dedicated budget for compliance training for all leadership, including education on why these structures exist." Augustus smiled. "Perfect. I'll include it all in the renewed certification." After everyone left, Edward stayed. "Sarah, you saved the company. I saved the compliance program. The company saved itself by finally taking it seriously." He hesitated. "Ryan wants to talk to you. He's ready to present to the board next week. I think he's truly learned. I hope so. But learning doesn't erase consequences." "I understand." Edward paused at the door. "For the record, I should have protected you from the beginning. You built something important here. I didn't value it properly. Thank you for saying that. It means more than flowers." Friday was calmer. The due diligence was entering its final phase. Frank sought me out at the end of the day. "All clean?" I asked, almost. There's one issue. Your employment contract. I showed it to him. It's here. Full reinstatement, new terms signed by the board. He shook his head. Not that one. The one Helen offered you. I froze. I don't know what you're talking about. Sarah, I'm an auditor. It's literally my job to find connections. Helen asked me to assess if you'd be interested in a leadership position if TechVision acquires the company, or if it doesn't. I sat down slowly. She asked you to sound me out? She asked me to assess if you're as good as your reputation suggests. My analysis, you're better. And my answer to Helen? My report must be objective, I replied carefully, based on facts, not speculation about my future. Frank smiled. Of course. But if she asks if you'd be a valuable asset to any organization, I'll say that any company that underestimated you is making a strategic error. He left, leaving me alone with turbulent thoughts. 2 offers now. One to stay here with new power, new respect. Another to start something new, build from scratch without baggage. Over the weekend, I walked through Central Park trying to clear my mind. I thought about 7 years of work, about relationships built, about institutional knowledge. I also thought about how I had been dismissed, how I had had to fight to be heard. On Monday, I received an email from Frank. Subject: Final Due Diligence Report. I opened it with a pounding heart. Dear Sarah, we have concluded our assessment. Recommendation: proceed with acquisition under original terms with 3 conditions. First, you remain as Director of Compliance with autonomy, guaranteed by a contract that survives the acquisition. Second, implementation of a corporate governance program that you will design. Third, a special audit in 6 months to verify integration. Helen has approved all conditions. Congratulations on the exceptional work. I reread it 3 times. They weren't just proceeding with the purchase. They were making me a condition of it. My phone rang. Helen, did you see the report? I did. Frank was very clear about your value. TechVision wants you, Sarah, not as an inherited employee, but as a strategic leader. I'm honored, I replied honestly. But I need to know. If I had accepted your original offer, would you still have proceeded with the acquisition? Helen laughed. You're sharp, honestly. We would have reevaluated the value. The company without you is worth significantly less. That's flattering and a bit disturbing. It's business reality. You built something that can't be easily replicated. That has value. She paused. So what's your answer? Stay and help with the integration? Or accept the offer and build something new with us? I need time to think. You have until Wednesday. That's when we announce publicly. I hung up and looked out the window. The city stretched out infinitely. Millions of lives, millions of choices. And I was at the center of my own story. Finally with the power to choose. Not because I begged, not because I accepted less, but because I built value that couldn't be ignored. I thought about Ryan, who learned that shortcuts have a price. I thought about Edward, who learned that people are more than numbers. I thought about myself, who learned that strategic silence can be more powerful than shouting. And for the first time in months, I truly smiled, because whatever choice I made, it would be mine, completely mine. Tuesday dawned gray and cold. I woke up at 5 a.m. unable to go back to sleep. The decision weighed on me, not because it was difficult, but because it was important. It represented more than choosing between 2 jobs. It represented choosing what kind of professional I wanted to be. I went to the office early before 7. The streets were still empty, just a few buses and early morning delivery drivers. In the empty elevator, I looked at myself in the reflection of the polished metal. The woman staring back at me was different from the one 3 months ago. Stronger, more certain of her worth, more willing to demand respect instead of waiting for it. I sat in my office, turned on my computer and started writing. Not the reply to Helen yet. First, I needed to write for myself. I organized my thoughts into a list. Reasons to stay. 7 years of institutional knowledge. Established relationships. A compliance program I built brick by brick. New respect and authority, participation in the integration with TechVision. Reasons to leave, opportunity to start something new without past baggage, significantly higher salary, total autonomy from day one, working with leadership that valued compliance from day one, no memory of being dismissed. I reread the list several times. Then I saved it in a file and closed it, because I realized something. The decision wasn't about which list was longer. It was about which future would make me wake up excited to work. At 9, I received an email from Ryan, subject board presentation scheduled. Sarah, I'm presenting on Thursday. I'd like you to be there. Not to defend me, but because you deserve to hear what I've learned. No obligation. Just an invitation. I replied, I'll be there. 2 hours later, Edward called me. Can you come to my office? I went up to find him nervous, pacing. Sarah, I received information from a confidential source that Helen made you a direct offer. I won't ask for details because it's not my right. But I need to know if we're still in the running. I crossed my legs and faced him. Edward, I'll be honest. The offer is tempting. Very tempting. But my decision isn't just about money. He sat down. Then what is it about? That's really about trust. About waking up every day without wondering if I'll be discarded again in the next round of optimization. Sarah, he said quietly, I can't change what happened. But I can guarantee it will never happen again. I've already implemented changes. You have a permanent seat on the executive committee. Any restructuring that affects compliance needs your approval. It's in the new corporate bylaws. He showed me the document. It was true. There it was, in clear legal language. The Director of Compliance will have veto authority over structural decisions that impact risk and governance functions. That's good, I admitted. But structures change, people change. Today's guarantees can be reinterpreted tomorrow. Then what can I do to convince you this is real? Nothing, I replied. Because it's not about you convincing me. It's about me deciding where I can do the best work and be happiest. He nodded slowly. Fair. I just want you to know that we want you here, not out of transactional necessity, but because you've made this company better. Thank you for that, I stood up. I'll give my answer tomorrow. To you and to Helen. I spent the rest of the day in operational meetings, reviewing procedures, training staff. Normal work, but with a heightened awareness that every action could be one of my last here or the beginning of a new chapter. At 6, as the office was emptying, my cell phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Sarah Miller. This is Beatrice Fonseca, tech reporter for the Tech Chronicle. I'm investigating a story about corporate restructurings that went wrong. Your name came up. I'm sorry, but I don't comment to the press about internal company matters. I understand. But off the record, is it true that you used a contractual clause to essentially force the company to reinstate you? Who told you that? Sources, is it true? I used established protocol to protect compliance integrity. Nothing illegal or unethical, just following rules that others ignored. She laughed. That's an incredible quote. Can I use it? Can I do? As I said, I don't comment. But I can say off the record that this story isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's about what happens when companies treat compliance as a cost instead of a value. And about professionals who understand their worth and don't accept less. There will be a story, Beatrice said. With or without you, it's better if it's accurate. Then I will send an official statement via the company's press office. Anything beyond that will be speculation. I hung up and immediately called Edward. We have a problem. The press is investigating. I told him about the call. He groaned. That's all we needed. I'll get our communications people on it. Can you prepare a technical statement? I can. But Edward, this is going to get out. The story is too good. Company almost loses a $300 million sale by ignoring compliance. We just need to control the narrative. How do you want it to be told? As an administrative error that was corrected, with leadership taking responsibility, not as a corporate war. Agreed. I'll work on it. He paused. Sarah, does this affect your decision? I looked out the window at the city lighting up for the night. Honestly, it makes everything more interesting. I spent the night writing the statement. I kept it factual, professional, focused on process and correction. During a recent administrative restructuring, there was a lapse in compliance designation protocol. The issue was identified and corrected following established procedures. The company reaffirms its commitment to robust governance and transparency. Director of Compliance Sarah Miller has been reinstated with expanded authority. Her corporate governance training program will be implemented for all leadership. I sent it to Edward at midnight. He approved it in 15 minutes. Perfect. Concise, professional, no drama. Exactly as it should be. Wednesday arrived with rare sunshine in the city. This was the day. I arrived at the office at 8, sat in my office and took a deep breath. I called Helen first. "Good morning, Sarah. Do you have an answer?" "I do, and it's no." Silence. Then, "May I ask why?" "Because I realized something. I spent 7 years building something here. When it was threatened, I fought for it. Now it's stronger than ever. Leaving now would be abandoning something I'm heavily invested in." Helen laughed softly. "You know, many people would say this is precisely the time to leave. At your peak with multiple offers? And many people didn't build what I built. This isn't just a job for me. It's a legacy. I respect that," she said. "I truly respect that. But Sarah, if you change your mind, the door is always open." "Thank you, truly." I hung up and went to Edward's office. He looked up, tense. "I'm staying," I announced. He exhaled so deeply, it sounded like he'd been holding his breath for days. "Sarah, you won't regret this. I hope not. Because if I ever feel disposable again, there won't be a second chance." "Understood, perfectly." He held out his hand. "Welcome back." "Officially, completely." I shook his hand. "Now we have work to do. Integration with TechVision, the new training program, the special audit. Let's get started." Thursday, the board meeting took place. All members present, including Paul Vance, who looked like he had aged years in weeks. Ryan entered last, carrying a thick folder and a serious expression. Edward began. "Ryan Vance will present an analysis of the decisions that led to the recent compliance crisis. Ryan, the floor is yours." He took a deep breath. "Members of the board, Sarah, I am here to take full responsibility for nearly destroying a $300 million plus sale." He began methodically. He explained how he identified compliance as a target without understanding its real function. How he presented savings of $140,000 without calculating the risk of losing $300 million. How he ignored warnings, deadlines, protocol. His voice trembled when he said, "I treated people like numbers on a spreadsheet. I treated specialized knowledge as a disposable cost. And it almost cost this company everything." He looked directly at me. "Sarah built a system that protected us from my own ignorance. When I tried to dismantle it without understanding, the system did exactly what it was supposed to do. It created inevitable consequences. She didn't sabotage me. She did her job. And I failed at mine." The silence in the room was absolute. I learned that efficiency without understanding is dangerous. That experienced people have value that doesn't show up on spreadsheets. That shortcuts in governance are illusory. He closed the folder. "I accept any consequences the board determines. I only ask that you use my error as an institutional lesson." Robert, the investor, spoke first. "Ryan, I appreciate your honesty. It shows character. But it also shows a lack of preparation for a strategic leadership position." "I agree," Ryan said simply. Paul spoke, his voice heavy. "My son will be transferred to the financial analysis area. No oversight of people or processes for the next 2 years. He will learn the fundamentals before receiving responsibility again." Edward looked at me. "Sarah, anything to add?" I looked at Ryan. "You've learned the most important lesson. Actions have consequences. Use it well." He nodded, his eyes watery. "Thank you for the lesson and for not destroying me when you could have. I wasn't trying to destroy anyone. I was protecting something that mattered." The meeting ended. As we were leaving, Ryan caught up with me in the hallway. "Sarah, can I ask something?" "Of course. Why did you stay?" "After everything?" I smiled. "Because I'm finally where I deserve to be, with the respect I've earned. And because sometimes the best revenge isn't leaving. It's staying and setting the terms." He laughed despite himself. "You're impressive." "I know," I replied. "I finally know." 6 months later, I was sitting in the same conference room where Ryan had presented his optimization PowerPoint. But everything was different. The table was full of executives from TechVision and our company, now officially integrated. Helen was chairing the meeting, with me at her right hand as the Director of Compliance for the integrated group. "The integration has been exemplary," Helen said, reviewing the results. "We've exceeded synergy projections by 23%. But the real success is in something that doesn't show up on the financial spreadsheets." She looked at me. Sarah Miller built a governance program that is now being replicated across all our acquisitions. What started as a problem has become a model. Edward, now a regional president, added, "The compliance training program Sarah developed has already been implemented in 8 subsidiaries. We've reduced risk incidents by 41%. Ryan, who was at the meeting as a junior analyst, timidly raised his hand. "Can I add something?" Helen nodded. "I'm taking the training program. It's transformative. I've learned more in 6 months than in 2 years of my MBA." I smiled at him. "The important thing is that you're learning." After the meeting, Helen called me to her office on the top floor. The view was even better than Edward's. Panoramic windows showing the city in all its chaotic complexity. "Sarah, I have a proposal. We want to create a corporate governance division within the TechVision group. You would lead it, a team of 50, a $12 million budget, authority over all acquisitions." "It would be huge." "It would be," I agreed. And I need to think," she laughed. "Always so careful." "It's what got me here." "That's true." I looked out the window, thinking about everything that had happened. From the meeting where I was reclassified to now, from the ignored coordinator to the leader being courted. It wasn't luck. It wasn't revenge. It was building value that was impossible to ignore. "Helen," I finally said, "I'll accept, but with conditions." "There are always conditions with you," she smiled. "What are they?" "I want a contractual guarantee of autonomy. I want every compliance program we develop to have protection clauses like Section 9.7. I want to create a culture where specialists are valued, not optimized, and I want Ryan on my team." Helen blinked, surprised. "Ryan, after what he did?" "Exactly because of it. He learned the lesson that most executives never learn. Humility, the value of specialized knowledge, real consequences. He'll be a better professional for having failed." She considered it. "Interesting," agreed, "but he reports to you and is on probation." "Fair." We shook hands. Helen paused before I left. "Sarah, can I ask something personal? Did you plan all of this from the beginning?" "No," I replied honestly. "I didn't plan on being dismissed. I didn't plan on Ryan ignoring protocol. I didn't plan any of the circumstances. Then what did you plan?" "I planned to be prepared. I built structures that would protect what mattered, regardless of what happened. When the time came, the structures worked." Helen nodded thoughtfully. "That's what separates you from most. You didn't wait to be protected. You protected yourself." I went down to my new office, larger than the last one, with its own window and a glass door with my name in elegant letters. Sarah Miller, Director of Corporate Governance. I sat in the new chair and opened my laptop. I had 342 unread emails, 17 meetings scheduled for the week, 3 conference proposals asking me to speak on preventive governance. My phone rang. Unknown number again. "Hello? Sarah? It's Beatrice Fonseca from the Tech Chronicle. Remember me?" "Oh, I remember. Did the article run?" "It ran today. Front page of the business section. Headline, How Compliance Saved a $300 million Sale. You're the hero of the story." "I'm not a hero. I just did my job." "That's exactly what you said in the article. Most shared quote on social media today. People are calling you an example of how specialists should value themselves." "That's surreal." "It's deserved. By the way, I've received 12 interview requests from other companies asking about you." "Interested?" "Not at the moment, but thank you for letting me know." I hung up and opened the newspaper's website. There it was, with a photo of me at a board meeting. I read the full article. It was fair, factual, focused on lessons about governance. Ryan was mentioned but not demonized. Edward was quoted about the implemented changes. And I was presented not as a victim or vindictive, but as a professional who understood her value. The comments were fascinating. "This should be taught in every business school." Finally, someone shows that compliance isn't bureaucracy, it's protection. How many careers are wasted by leaders who don't understand what they're optimizing? I saved the article in a special folder, not for vanity, but as a reminder of where I started, where I arrived, and how much changed because I refused to accept less than I deserved. A week later, I gave my first speech as Director of Corporate Governance, an auditorium with 200 people, mostly executives and compliance professionals. Title of the speech, Building Innegotiable Value. I started with a simple story. Imagine you spend 7 years building something important. Then someone decides it can be optimized, automated, outsourced. What do? A few hands went up. A woman said, "Fight for your position." A man said, "Look for another job." Another person said, "Accept it and move on." I shook my head. Those are all valid options. But there's another. You build structures that make it impossible to ignore the value of what you do. Not just personal protection structures. Structures that protect the function, the integrity, the purpose. I told the story. Not all the details, but enough. Section 9.7, the hasty restructuring, the inevitable consequences. When I finished, the silence was profound. Then a woman in the back raised her hand. "Weren't you afraid of being seen as difficult or uncooperative?" "Always," I admitted. But I realized something. Being seen as easy, flexible, always available to be optimized, that didn't protect me. In fact, it made me a target. So I decided I'd rather be respected than liked. Applause filled the auditorium. Later, during the Q&A, a young executive asked, "Do you recommend everyone do what you did?" "No," I replied. "Every situation is unique, but I recommend that everyone understand their real value, document their contributions, build professional safety nets, and never accept being treated as disposable when you know you are essential." More applause. When I stepped off the stage, Helen was waiting for me. "You're a natural at this. You already have an invitation to keynote an international conference in Lisbon next month." "I'll consider it." I smiled. That night, alone at home, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine and looked at the city lights. I thought about how many people were out there in situations similar to what I had faced. Competent professionals being underestimated, dismissed, optimized. I thought about how many would accept it, resign themselves, or leave defeated. And I thought about how many could do it differently if they knew it was possible. I picked up my phone and opened the Notes app. I started writing. Title: 10 Principles of Innegotiable Professional Value. 1. Document everything. 2. Build structures that outlive you. 3. Know your real value, not what others say you're worth. 4. Protect your function, not just your position. 5. Ethics are never negotiable. 6. Strategic silence can be more powerful than confrontation. 7. Consequences should be inevitable, not vengeful. 8. Build safety nets before you need them. 9. Respect is earned, not given. 10. You always have more options than you think. I saved it and emailed it to myself. Maybe it would become an article. Maybe a book. Maybe just a personal reminder. It didn't matter. What mattered was that I had learned, survived, and thrived. My phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. "Sarah, thank you for giving me a second chance. I won't waste it." I replied, "I know you won't. Everyone deserves a chance to learn from their mistakes. Just make sure the lesson sticks." Another message, this time from Edward. "The board approved your integration bonus. You deserve every penny. And more importantly, you've changed this company for the better." I smiled. "I didn't change the company, Edward. The company changed when it finally paid attention to what was always there." The last message of the night came from Helen. "Sarah, I just closed 2 more acquisitions. Both specifically asked for you to oversee the compliance due diligence. You've become a competitive advantage." I replied, "That's what compliance should always be." I put the phone aside and took a deep breath. The city night air, always polluted but somehow comforting, filled my lungs. I had started this year thinking my career was defined, stable, maybe a little mundane. I had been shaken, challenged, almost discarded. And I had emerged stronger, clearer about my worth, more determined to never accept less. Not because I was seeking revenge, not because I wanted to prove something to someone specific, but because I finally understood that my value didn't depend on recognition from others. It depended on what I built, protected, and defended. I raised my wine glass to the city below, to all the competent professionals being underestimated at this very moment, to everyone building value that hasn't been recognized yet, to everyone learning to value themselves even when no one else does, and to myself. For having learned the most important lesson of all, you don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the most aggressive. You don't have to play dirty. You just have to build something so solid, so essential, so well protected, that it cannot be ignored. And then, when they try to ignore it anyway, the structures you built will do the work for you. Silently, inevitably, perfectly. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't doing something dramatic. It's building something lasting, and watching as those who underestimated you realize far too late what they lost. I finished my wine, went inside, and went to sleep. Tomorrow I had a meeting at 8, a speech at 2, an interview at 4, a full schedule of opportunities I had created, not waited for. And for the first time in a long time, I couldn't wait to see what came next. Because now, finally, I was writing my own story. And it was a story worth telling. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope Sarah's story and her path to reclaiming her value touched you. To continue this journey of stories about professionals who discovered their strength and determination, we've prepared a special playlist with equally inspiring narratives. Find it by clicking here on the side. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like on this video. Every day we bring unique stories that explore the complexities of professional and personal life, showing that valuing yourself isn't selfishness, it's a necessity. Don't miss our upcoming content. Let us know in the comments, have you ever been through a similar situation? How did you assert your value? We'd love to hear your story. Until the next narrative, and remember, your value doesn't depend on others' recognition. It depends on what you build and protect. We'll be waiting for you.